Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His advice is the best advice. His final advice, which we can understand because it's the final advice, is the best advice, is Ma Shuchaha, don't worry. Now, there are many gurus, or even not religious gurus, but people who give advice to others, and they say, don't worry. Whatever happens, don't worry. This advice they give. There's a saying, an old saying in English, look on the bright side. That don't see the negative, just see the positive side. So this became like a joke in modern English culture. When the football team is being beaten by another team, all the fans will sing, look on the bright side. There's nothing bright, they're getting beaten, but they're saying, look on the bright side. But there's this whole field of advice for others. Just see the good things, don't see the bad things, don't worry. And Krishna also says, don't worry. However, prior to this in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna has pointed out many things which we should worry about. For instance, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukh. There is the suffering of birth, death, old age and disease. And when one is suffering severe pain due to some disease, you can say, don't worry, but still you're diseased. We have to die, we have to get born again and again and again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Again and again getting born, again and again dying, again and again entering the womb and lying down in the womb of a mother. And in fact, Krishna certifies the whole condition of the material world to be dukhalayam ashashvatam, a place of misery where everything is temporary. So what does this mean, don't worry? Should we not worry because there's nothing we can do about it? We have to suffer birth, death, old age and disease, so don't worry because you can't avoid it. Krishna tells us, or he tells Arjuna, tells us through Arjuna, not to worry. But there's something we have to do before we can not worry. And that is Saradhaman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayashami ma shucha. Ma shucha means don't worry. Before that comes Krishna's instruction. Abandon all varieties of dharma and take shelter in me only. I will deliver you from all sinful reaction. Don't worry. Or as Srila Prabhupada translated it, do not fear. This in Kanchi, at Chinna Kanchi, Varada Raja, he's giving his Abhaidanam, Mashucha, on his hand is written, Mashucha, don't worry. Why is that called Chinna Kanchi? Because Vishnu is big, small area.
Yeah, Chinna means small.
Yeah, I know it means small, but I was thinking that Vishnu is big. They're trying to say that he's less than Shiva, or what is that? So actually this, we do have a lot to be worried about. It is intelligent to be worried. Life is so wonderful. Everything's so wonderful. I got a pain. What's that? Go to the doctor. A doctor does analysis. You have cancer, heart problems, high cholesterol, blood pressure. Don't worry. We should be worried. Place is a place of misery. But we can come to the position of not worrying if we take shelter of Krishna. Krishna is not worried. We never see any pictures of Krishna with looking like this, looking distressed with a big frown on his face. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadviparivartate. He says, I oversee the whole cosmos with all the moving and non-moving beings. He says, Sarvasya chahang hridi sannivishto. I am within the heart of all living beings. We don't find that at any point he says, there's too much, all this work I have to do. I have to oversee all these people. They all have so many desires, I have to fulfill them. Dhyanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahubhya vidadhati kaman. Krishna is the one who fulfills the desires of all. So we never find that Krishna says, it's just too much, all this. There's people are praying to me, give us this day our daily bread. I'm giving it to them and still they're asking me. Someone wants bread, someone wants rice, someone wants chapatis. They don't even care for me, but still I'm giving them everything. I'm fed up of all this. I'm just going to go off and dance with the gopis. But Krishna, he doesn't get fed up and he is dancing with the gopis also. He oversees all the affairs of the universe just by his energies. Parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate swabhavavi jnana balam kriyacha. The Supreme Lord has all different potencies by which he oversees all the affairs of the universe. There was a very learned German person. He came to India. He wanted to find out who is God. And he saw all the different demigods, what they're doing. He saw Indra is the king of heaven. He has to fight against all the demons time to time. Surya Dev has to ride on his chariot every day to light up the world, 24 hours, non-stop. Similarly, Chandra Dev, he has to remain in his orbit. He also suffers from consumption. All the different demigods have some work to do. They're all very powerful. Scholars saw the temple of Radha and Krishna, thought, this is God. No work to do, just enjoying. No headache. No problems, no worries. So Krishna told Arjuna, just take shelter of me. I don't have any worries. If you take shelter of me, you also will have no worry. Doesn't mean that Krishna is irresponsible. If he went on strike, then we'd all be finished immediately. But he maintains the whole universe with just a little... He's so powerful that all the maintenance of the universe just goes on with it. Mama Tejamsa Sambhavam. Everything is going on with just a little spark of Krishna's energies. Now Arjuna was a very worried person. He was worried that how can I fight against my gurus? He should be worried because that's very sinful to attack your guru. But he was worried on the platform of dharma. He was worried about attacking Bhishma, his guru. He had already heard Bhishma say on one occasion that dharma is very subtle and very difficult to understand. Bhishma said that when the question was raised is, can Yudhishthira gamble away his wife when he himself is already gambled away? Is it dharma or not? So what is dharma in this situation? The forces of dharma headed by Yudhishthira were lined up against the forces of adharma headed by Duryodhana. Or on behalf of Yudhishthira and on behalf of Duryodhana. But Bhishma, who is a great authority on dharma, had circumstantially lined up on the side of adharma. So it becomes a complex situation. It's not straightforward anymore. The forces of dharma, of which Arjuna was the main fighter, had to fight against the forces of adharma. But because the ways of this world are very complex, circumstantially, Bhishma, who was also a representative of dharma, was in the army of adharma. Now Arjuna, how could he attack Bhishma? Guruna hatvahin mahanubhavan. So Arjuna faced this dilemma. He was worried. If I fight, it will be adharma, it will be wrong, because I will have to attack my gurus like Bhishma and Drona. But if I don't fight, well, that's also wrong, because we're supposed to fight the forces of our dharma. That's his duty as a kshatriya. So people talk of win-win situations. You try and find some situation, and whatever you do, everyone is satisfied. But Arjuna found himself in a lose-lose situation. Whatever he did, something's wrong. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the saying in English. Whatever you do, there's something wrong. So he was worried. Arjuna thought, I want to do the right thing, but whatever I do, there's going to be something wrong. So Krishna told Arjuna, Sarvadhaman Parityajya. Okay, just forget all about this dharma. You can never fully and properly practice dharma. There'll always be some fault. Sarvarambha hi doshena. In every endeavor in this world, there's some kind of fault. For instance, you may go on Tirtha Yatra to become free of sins. But in the course of Tirtha Yatra, you tread on so many ants on the path and commit more sins. So like the Jains, the Jain sadhus, they will sweep the road in front of them so they don't tread on any ants. But in sweeping, they might kill the ant also. If you sweep a little hard, accidentally. Or you might sweep the ant out of your pathway and into the pathway of a car, and the car runs over the ant instead. So, how can you avoid doing something harmful? You may perform a yajna, fire yajna to be free of sins. But in the wood that you put in the fire, there may be some little creatures that also get killed. Now, this doesn't mean that we should say, well, okay, you can't be fully good, so let's be bad. But, of course, we should not deliberately do bad things, but we can't avoid totally doing some things which would be considered bad. So if we become too much concerned how I can get free from all sinful reactions, we can't do it simply by following dharma. And even in some complex situation, we may make the wrong decision about what's the right thing to do. Krishna told the story to Arjuna of the Brahmin who never told a lie.
Bhagavan Sri Krishna Arjunaniடம் எப்படி ஒரு பிராமணனே இப்படி ஒரு தவறான ஒரு முடிவை எடுக்கிறான்னு ஒரு கதை சொன்னார்.
There was one Brahmin who lived at the edge of a village next to the jungle, and he had made a vow that he will never speak anything but the truth.
அவன் தன்னுடைய வாழ்க்கையில பொய் பேசுவதே கிடையாது, பொய்யை பேச மாட்டேன்னு சொல்லி ஒரு உறுதிமொழி எடுத்திருந்தான்.
That anyway Brahmins are supposed to do, but he'd particularly taken a vow. So one day he was outside his house at the edge, just at the edge of the village where the jungle begins. And a man came running up, looking very afraid. And he said that, I'm a merchant, I'm carrying gold, and some thieves are chasing me to take the gold. So where can I hide? So the Brahmin said, you just go in that jungle over there. So shortly thereafter, a gang of thieves came running up. And they said, we are thieves. We're chasing that merchant. We want to take his gold. Do you know where he is? So the Brahmin said, yes. So where is he? He's in that jungle just there. So the thieves went there and killed him and took all his gold. And the Brahmin didn't tell a lie. And when the Brahmin died, he went to hell. Because he thought, I took a vow not to tell a lie is bad, and especially I took a vow not to tell a lie, so I cannot tell a lie. But it's also a principle of dharma to give protection and to worthy people and to help protect them against harm. So that dharma in that circumstance was more important than the dharma of not telling a lie, and more important than maintaining his vow. He should have broken his vow. So the Brahmin probably thought, oh, I have to follow dharma. I shouldn't tell a lie.
And the Brahman நான் உண்மை மட்டுமே பேச வேண்டும் என்ற தர்மத்தை தவறான முறையில் அங்க வந்து கடைபிடித்தான்.
But he didn't know, he didn't have a clear understanding. So, how can we always understand what is right and what is wrong? Or even if we try our very best to do everything right, we may inadvertently do something wrong. In Shastras also described about King Nriga, Maharaj Nriga, who was very pious. Every day he would give away thousands of cows to Brahmanas. He thought, I will do so much punya, I will go to the heavenly planets. Now one day he was giving away the cows when from one group of cows he had already given to one Brahmin, and from that group of cows, one cow went into a group of cows which he had not yet given away, and in this way he gave away one cow twice, once to one Brahmin and again to another Brahmin. Then the Brahmin started arguing, no, it's my cow. No, it's my cow. He gave it to me. Well, he gave it to me. And they came to Maharaj Nriga. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. It's an accident. He said, I'll give either of you 1,000 cows in replacement of that one cow, but don't, please don't put me into difficulty. But they both refused and they both left in anger. So despite his tremendous endeavors to do punya only, when he died, King Nriga became a lizard in a well. So Krishna says, Sarva dhamman parityaja. Give up all this dharma. In other words, we can't rely on that. Even if we're very strict to follow if we were committed to follow the path of dharma, still we have cause to worry. We might make a wrong decision. A Brahmin who didn't want to tell a lie, how could he be sure what was right and what was wrong? He thought, I can't tell a lie, but I can't leave this man unprotected. And he was caught. This is called dharma sankat. Or even we're doing everything right, but circumstantially things may go wrong, as in the case of King Nriga. So as long as we are just interested in worldly dharma, then certainly we shall have cause to worry. And simply by following worldly dharma, being good, that cannot deliver us from birth and death. So we shall certainly have cause to worry about birth, death, old age and disease. So Krishna says, give up all these concepts of worldly dharma and take shelter in me fully. And then Krishna says, don't worry. Because if we sincerely take shelter of Krishna, then even if we make some error of judgment, Krishna will protect us. Now again, this shouldn't be misunderstood. It doesn't mean that we can say, well, I'm a devotee of Krishna, so I can just go and shoot people and murder them and burn their houses. And no, don't worry, Krishna's looking after me. No, someone who takes shelter of Krishna will be the best behaved person. He won't mistreat others or exploit them in any way. Because he has no motive to mistreat or exploit others. He might give distress to others who don't understand why he's doing bhakti. People may criticize, why aren't you working hard in a factory, making lots of money? What are you doing just singing this Hare Krishna? But a devotee does not worry about the jibes of foolish people. If we take to Krishna bhakti, definitely people will criticize. Oh, he thinks he's become a great sadhu. In various ways people will criticize. Some people will criticize, not everyone will criticize. But a devotee fully takes shelter of Krishna. He knows that as long as I'm not in the shelter of Krishna, I have to suffer in so many ways. But when we take shelter of Krishna, then we're fully satisfied, fully peaceful, and we know that Krishna is looking after us. Bhavantamevanu charam nirantara prashanta nishesha. Bhavantamevanu charam, what is that? Bhavantamevanu charam nirantara prashanta nishesha manoratantara kadaham ekantika nitya kinkara prashanta nishesha. Sanata Jivitam. Yamunacharya prays like this in his Stotra Ratna. Do you all know who Yamunacharya is? Who knows who is Yamunacharya? Not everyone knows. He's one of the greatest persons ever to have appeared in this land of the Tamil people. Yeah, Alabanda. Maybe they know that name, Alabanda. No.
Only this one.
Yeah, the Sanskrit name is Yamuna Alabandha. So you should know all these things. He was a great Acharya just prior to Ramanuja. And if you haven't heard of Ramanuja, then you should be fully ashamed of yourself, living in Tamil Nadu and calling yourself a Hindu. So Yamuna Acharya prays. We should publish that Stotra Ratna actually. It's so nice. It's so good. We should do a commentary on it. So he prays that when will that day come? That I will be always in your service. He's praying to Vishnu. And my mind will be fully peaceful. Means no worries. Why fully peaceful? All the somersaults of the mind are completely finished. Somersaults, gymnastics. It's my translation of Manoratantara, the constantly changing position of the mind on the Manorat, traveling on the... When will I be happy to be counted as your eternal servant, Nitya Kinkara, fully happy, knowing that I'm living in the shelter of my Lord. In this material world there is no shelter. We take shelter of our family members, of our physical strength, but no one can protect us from birth and death. Only Krishna can protect us. In the material situation, we're always in anxiety. Because however much we try to protect ourselves by making a house with walls and locks, we make some medical insurance policy, we join some political party, we're trying to protect ourselves. We know that we're fully vulnerable. But when we take shelter of Krishna, we know that no one can harm us. Even if someone wants to kill us, they cannot, because we know we are not the body. This body is sure to die, but I am in the shelter of Krishna. So devotee also has to leave the body and in that sense die. Someone who's taken shelter of Krishna does not get born again in this material world, but they go to Krishna in the spiritual world. So what is there to worry about? So don't worry. That's Krishna's instruction. Don't worry, but we have to take shelter of Krishna, then we can not worry. But anyone who tells us don't worry without first telling us to take shelter of Krishna, they're simply cheaters, bluffers, rascals. Oh, don't worry, everything's okay. It's not okay. This material world is a place of suffering. By imagining that there are no problems doesn't make them go away. We have to take the real solution. Sarva dhamman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Take full shelter of Krishna. Don't take shelter of anything in this world. So there are so many examples of great devotees. Here in what's now called Tamil Nadu, we also have the place of Gajendra Moksha. That's a representation. Actually, that took place on at the base of the Trikut mountain in the heavenly planets, but that Pratibimba Swarupam, the reflected place of that, is there that's near to your place. Tirunelveli, yeah, that's in the deep south. So Gajendra, he was just an elephant. There used to be so many elephants in India, now there are Tata trucks instead. So Gajendra...
Tamil we say Kutti Yane, the trucks. Kutti Yane, we say small elephant.
A small elephant, yeah.
We will not say truck, Kutti Yane.
Kuti Yani, yeah. Kuti Yani, little Yani.
Yeah.
Yani is a Sanskrit word for elephant. So, just an elephant is just an ignorant animal. They also have some intelligence. They can be trained to do things like lift up logs and fight in wars. They can also paint pictures. In Thailand, they have a whole team of they sell to the tourists paintings painted by elephants. But basically, we don't expect elephants to be, or any animal, to be devotees of Vishnu. But when he was captured by the crocodile, he remembered his previous life. In his previous life, he had been meditating on Vishnu, but due to circumstances, the curse of a rishi, he became an elephant. So then he prayed in the elephant captured by the crocodile. He prayed, and immediately Lord Vishnu came directly from Vaikuntha on the back of Garuda. Don't worry! And with his Sudarshan Chakra cut the head of the crocodile and gave liberation to Gajendra. He went to the spiritual world. So don't worry. If we take shelter of Krishna, then we can not worry. And if we don't take shelter of Krishna, then however much we say don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, we will have to worry. We'll have to worry life after life after life. So better take shelter of Krishna. Kali Yuga, we can very easily take shelter of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada used to say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. He used to say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. You might be surprised that an elephant got the mercy of Lord Vishnu. But Srila Prabhupada was preaching Krishna consciousness among people who were actually completely insane. Worse than animals. Completely confused. In the Western world, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, meat eating, this is just considered normal. Now in India, people think they've become very advanced by doing all these sinful activities. But in the Western world, all these very sophisticated, high-class people, so-called, they weren't interested in listening to Srila Prabhupada. It was only the hippies, the rejected people, who were interested. They were taking all these weird psychotropic drugs, which make you really crazy. So Srila Prabhupada was teaching them to chant Hare Krishna and teaching the philosophy of Bhagavad-gita. But actually these people were crazy. Gradually, by teaching them Krishna consciousness, some of them became sane. But many of them, they were just really crazy. One time, shortly after I joined this movement, I asked one senior member who joined in 1966, I asked him, why are so many members of this movement crazy? And he said, well, I asked the same question to Srila Prabhupada. And he said that, well, you have to be somewhat crazy to join this movement. It was almost like that, because everyone who was joining was just like at the bottom level of human society. To be level-headed was unusual. So Srila Prabhupada would often say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. All the philosophy and Bhagavad-gita and completely crazy people. So Prabhupada would, just very, very strange questions people would ask. Not just questions, but they'd come in and they'd say, what are you doing sitting on the back seat? I'm God. It was a normal thing. Many people thought they were God. And they were convinced they were God. Dirty, stinking person who hadn't taken a bath in 3 weeks. But completely convinced, I am God. And they would challenge, why are you saying Krishna? I'm God. So Srila Prabhupada would often say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So whether we are sane or insane, we should all chant Hare Krishna. Actually, in this material world, everyone is insane. It's just a question of degree. That Srila Prabhupada also told that story, that during his family life, before he took sannyas, he was involved in the medical industry. So one doctor, psychologist, he was called to examine one person accused of murder. Monotattvavadi. Monotattvavadi. That sounds more like a theoretical psychologist. So he was, that one man had killed someone, and in court he pleaded not guilty due to insanity. So the psychologist, the Monotattvavadi, was called to examine to see whether he was insane. So after examining the accused, the Monotattvavadi gave evidence in court. So he said, I examined him, he's insane. But he said, I've examined thousands of people in my life, and as far as I can see, everyone in this world is insane. So if you like, you can give him freedom, let him off on the grounds of insanity. So actually everyone in this world is insane. We're just interested in this body. This body lasts for a few seconds in time, and we just think, let me get money and build up my property and all crazy thoughts. So it's actually sane to understand, I am not this body, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. But sane or insane, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Don't worry, that's Krishna's best advice. See what he says before that also. Hare Krishna! Anyone have any worries they want to ask about? So many people come and tell me about their worries. My wife is causing me so many problems. Then the wife comes and says, my husband is causing me so many problems. Everyone has so many problems. There's no solution to it all. There's no material solution. If you try to solve one problem, you'll just find there's another problem. And even if theoretically you could solve all the problems, still you have to suffer birth, death, old age and disease. So just chant Hare Krishna and be happy, that's all. Hare Krishna. Yeah, the children, they can chant nicely. All their worries didn't begin yet.